Hello and welcome to the Pretty Good Gaming Daily Triple, your no shit gaming news video. That's 3 news stories in one video with zero faff.
AAA gaming has many problems these days, from microtransactions and loot boxes to releasing unfinished and creatively bankrupt games. That's not something that would surprise most of you watching, but when an actual game dev comes out and says it, it makes it much more real. In an interview with PC Gamer, the former president of Arkane Studios, Rafael Colantonio, explained why he moved away from his successful studio to work on indie games. While discussing his new project Weird West with his new studio Wolfeye Studios, he described one of the biggest issues with AAA gaming. You're not making a game anymore, you're making a product. How many major AAA games have come out over the past few years that just feel like ticking a box on a spreadsheet rather than the actual game? Colantonio highlights that money is the big issue in AAA gaming, and that driving force is what kills creativity. Since there is so much money at stake, there is a lot to lose and not much room for creative risks. If you experiment with a new idea, people may not like it, meaning that the studio has burnt through potentially millions of dollars and won't make any of it back. At the end of the day, the game you're making for a big studio and publisher has to make money, and since so much has gone in, they need even more to come out. When it comes to crunch culture, Colantonio likens the AAA game production process to car manufacturing, where there is no break between projects, and once one is complete, work immediately commences on the next one. They're set up like a car factory where, you know, after Model 3 we have to start thinking about Model 4. What a way to kill creativity and the juice of a creative person. There is no way I wanted to come back to AAA, making another thing where you focus 90% of your efforts on having the feet not sliding on the floor. This is not what I'm making games for. Out of all the big AAA companies out there, is it any surprise that a Bethesda-owned company would make its key creatives feel like this? Colantonio is best known for titles like Ark Fatalis, Prey, and the incredible Dishonored games. Despite being a great game in its own right, Dishonored 2 sold 40% fewer copies than the first game, which led Arkane and Bethesda to indefinitely shelve the project. After leaving Arkane in 2017 to spend time with his family, Colantonio eventually set up his new studio, Wolfeye Studios, alongside former Arkane producer Julian Roby. The studio is known as a distributed company, meaning that its 20-person team works all over the place rather than in one base of operations, which sounds pretty well suited to the current state of the world. Wolfeye's debut project, Weird West, is an isometric RPG set in the Wild West American frontier, filled with supernatural elements. This new start for Colantonio seems to have reignited his passion, just on a smaller scale. Our passion and ambitions are very high, and we want to succeed, and we want to make a game that people enjoy. We're making it with less people, less money, and it's really our thing from the beginning to the end, so that feels really gratifying. We've heard this kind of story so many times now with AAA devs who get burnt out through crunch culture or lack of creative freedom. That business model clearly isn't working and is not sustainable, but AAA gaming will probably collapse on itself before it evolves forward. Hopefully these new smaller teams can continue to punch out some good quality stuff over the next few years, and with creatives like Rafael Colantonio at the head, I'm confident we'll get some really good stuff. If Weird West is half as good as Dishonored, then it's definitely on my radar. However, not all AAA games are a total shit show, as Cyberpunk 2077 seems to be proving. Now, CD Projekt as a company certainly isn't perfect and falls into similar AAA traps like crunch culture, but it's still a whole lot better than most studios out there. That doesn't excuse the crunch culture, but let's be honest, they're nowhere near the same as EA. Cyberpunk could very easily end up being one of the worst games of the generation due to the sheer amount of hype behind the game, but my god, it looks damn good. Episode 2 of the Night City Wire livestream ran last night and gave viewers a deeper look into some of the game's features. The stream went into detail about the game's 3 life path options: Street Kid, Nomad, and Corpo. These form part of the game's fluid class system and will influence your choices throughout the game. Each class will start with a different opening sequence before you get into the meat of the story. For example, the Nomad is an outlaw who lives outside Night City in the Badlands Desert. This means he has loyal relationships and connections with other nomads, but knows little about life inside the city itself or who lives there. Choosing this path may lock you out of certain dialogue and story choices later on, but will also open up other interactions and stories to explore. The Street Kid, on the other hand, has grown up on the dirty, neon-soaked streets of Night City and is familiar with its criminal underbelly. This gives V a way into some of the key figures of Night City, but is not known to the nomads outside the walls. The final class is Corpo, which is someone who has attained power and status through the corporate ranks. With this class, you'll have connections to the various nefarious corporations, which could be beneficial, but the dirtier side of Night City is less familiar to you. Elsewhere in the stream, we also got a closer look at many of the game's weapons and how they kill things differently. Each weapon falls into one of 3 main categories: power, tech, or smart. Power weapons are the most similar to conventional weapons we have today, but do have the ability to ricochet bullets off walls or around corners. Tech weapons are more advanced and have the ability to penetrate an enemy's cover or body armor. Finally, there are smart weapons, which are top of the line, and highly advanced weapons which fire bullets that automatically track enemies. In addition to these different gun types, there are also melee weapons like swords or attachments to your body itself like wrist rockets or mantis blades. The stream also went into detail about some of the game's music for the in-game band Samurai, led by Keanu Reeves' character Johnny Silverhand. In reality, Samurai's music is performed by the Swedish punk band Refused. The band have been around since the early 90s, but have been on multiple hiatuses and have over 300,000 monthly listeners on Spotify. The band singer Dennis Lyxzén explained having to get into character and the mind of Johnny Silverhand to write lyrics differently to how he normally would. He also described some issues he had while performing the song since his natural Swedish accent came through a bit too much. Samurai currently has 4 songs available to listen to on Spotify: Chippin' In, Never Fade Away, The Ballad of Buck Rivers, and most recently, A Like Supreme. In an alternate reality, we would all be playing the game in just a few short weeks, but in our world, we have to wait until November 19th to enter Night City, and by God, it can't come soon enough. And finally, The Last of Us 1 is one of the greatest video games of all time, and while its sequel is, controversial, it was missing one popular feature. No, not a good story or likable characters. The grounded difficulty mode. This difficulty made the game much more punishing, removed your HUD, and made resources much more scarce. Fortunately, it looks like this fan favourite mode will be coming after all in a new update. This was discovered by Twitter user PowerPix, who spotted that with update 1.03, new trophies for grounded mode were added. In addition to grounded mode itself, it looks like the game is getting a permadeath mode, which I'm sure will please anyone who wants to kill Abby. The game finally fell out of the top 10 physical charts in the UK this week, which may sound like a win for the naysayers, but I doubt Sony really gives a shit after shifting 4 million copies in 3 days. Now, I'm not saying that makes the game good, but clearly it's made a shit ton of money, and as we all know, that's all the corporations actually care about. And that's your lot for today. If you enjoyed this no shit format, go ahead and give the video a like to give it a boost, hit subscribe and the bell if you want to stay up to date on all future installments, toss a coin to your YouTuber over at patreon.com/prettygoodgaming. That's all for today. I've been Henry Cooper. Bye for now.